It is that time of the year where we like to look back and reminisce on all of the special moments that have happened throughout the year. And I, Salacious Rum, gets to pick my favourite video of the year. Yay! Well, it was a hard-fought competition with lots of good entries from a wide range of YouTubers in our community. But this year, the award has to go to only one Kenobi for his riveting lecture on how to use magnets to help you with your Star Wars collection. Us in the monkey-lizard community were on the edge of our seats throughout that riveting video. Thank you, Only One, for bringing us the scientific content that takes Star Wars collecting to the next level. It's like what you read about in textbooks. Yay! Now, without further ado, let's have a look at what earned Only One Kenobi this prestigious award. Rob, let's have a look, shall we?
Magnets.
And I figured that, you know, this process I've never tried it before. And, you know, I've seen the effects of using heavy books. It does straighten things out, but this had a significant wave in it, this Grievous. You know, real, you know, and I've wondered about maybe using a heavy book, but I figured that the pressure of these magnets here is, look at that, it looks flat as a pancake with these magnets on it as well. It's a significant force. So I put this really strong magnet here. That's where the worst of it is. This is, look at it, it's one of those things, I think it's from a Christmas cracker. It's got a magnet on the other side of it. That's just in the middle. That's there because it didn't need that much. This is just to add a bit of stability. I just want to see if it's worked or not.
Excellent question. Okay. But the problem that you're asking, you see, when you ask why something happens, how does a person answer why something happens? For example, Aunt Minnie is in a hospital. Why? Because she went out and she slipped on the ice and broke her hip. That satisfies people. It satisfies, but it wouldn't satisfy someone who came from another planet, knew nothing about things. First, you should understand why, when you break your hip, do you go to the hospital? How do you get to the hospital when the hip was broken? Well, because her husband, seeing that she had the hip was broken, called the hospital up and sent somebody to get her. All that is understood by people. Now, when you explain a why, you have to be in some framework that you allow something to be true. Otherwise, you're perpetually asking why. Why did the husband call up the hospital? Because husband is interested in his wife's welfare. Not always. Some husbands aren't interested in their wife's welfare when they're drunk and they're angry. And so you begin to get a very interesting understanding of the world and all its complications. In order to if you try to follow anything up, you go deeper and deeper in various directions. For example, you could go, why did she slip on the ice? Well, ice is slippery. Everybody knows that, no problem. But you ask, why is ice slippery? That's kind of curious. Ice is extremely slippery. It's very interesting. You say, how does it work? You could either say, I'm satisfied that you've answered me, ice is slippery, that explains it. Or you could go on and say, why is ice slippery? And then you're involved with something, because there aren't many things as slippery as ice. It's very hard to get. Greasy stuff, but that's sort of wet and slimy. But a solid that's so slippery, because it is in the case of ice that when you stand on it, they say, momentarily the pressure melts the ice a little bit, so you got a sort of instantaneous water surface on which you're slipping. Why on ice and not on other things? Because ice expands water expands when it freezes, so the pressure tries to undo the expansion and melts it. It's capable of melting it. But other substances contract when they're freezing, and when you push them, they're just satisfied to be solid. Why does water expand when it freezes and other substances don't expand when they freeze? All right? I'm not answering your question, but I'm telling you how difficult a why question is. You have to know what it is that you're permitted to understand and allowed to be understood and known, and what it is you're not. You'll notice in this example that the more I ask why, it gets interesting after all. That's my idea, that the deeper a thing is, the more interesting it is. And we could even go further and say, why did she fall down when she slipped? That has to do with gravity. It involves in all the planets and everything else. Never mind. It goes on and on. Now, when you ask, for example, why two magnets repel?
Boom, like that. And I've got another one just up there to keep it. Yeah, if I took that one off, it wouldn't make any difference. I could put it here maybe. But then that one lifts there, you see. So I'm going to get some more magnets. I've got some more of these, so I'm going to put another one so it's there. Get it flat in four corners maybe, and then see what happens.
There are many different levels. It depends on whether you're a student of physics or an ordinary person who doesn't know anything or not. If you're somebody who doesn't know anything at all about it, all I can say is that there's a magnetic force that makes them repel, and that you're feeling that force. And you say, but that's very strange, because I don't feel kind of force like that in other circumstances. When you turn them the other way, they attract. There's a very analogous force, electrical force, which is the same kind of a question. And you say, that's also very weird. But you're not at all disturbed by the fact that when you put your hand on the chair, it pushes you back. But we found out by looking at it that that's the same force, as a matter of fact, the electrical force, not magnetic exactly in that case, but it's the same electrical repulsions that are involved in keeping your finger away from the chair, because everything's made out of its electrical forces in minor and microscopic details. There's other forces involved, but this is connected to electrical forces. It turns out that the magnetic and the electric force with which I wish to explain these things, this repulsion in the first place, is what ultimately is the deeper thing that we have to start, that we can start with, to explain many other things that looked like they were, everybody would just accept them. You know, you can't put your hand through the chair. That's taken for granted. But that you can't put your hand through the chair, when looked at more closely, why? That involves these same repulsive forces that appear in magnets.
Just going to try this method of using magnets. This is just a tin. This is the only thing I could find that was magnetic. I was thinking about putting it on a big sheet, like a cooking tray, baking tray or something, but look at that. That looks pretty straight to me now. Look at that, it's flat. So instead of using a book, I want to see if I can use magnets.
And there it has to do with the fact that in iron, all the electrons are spinning in the same direction. They all get lined up, and they magnify the effect of the force until it's large enough at a distance that you can feel it. But it's a force which is present all the time and very common, and is in a basic force of almost, I mean, I can go a little further back if I were more technical, but at an early level, I just have to tell you that's going to be one of the things you'll just have to take as an element in the world, the existence of magnetic repulsion, or electrical attraction, magnetic attraction.
So magnets do work, as to be expected. And it is the same force as having a book or something, because it's just pressure, isn't it? Energy. Binding. So here we are. This is the end of the video. I want to go again with this experiment. Have it like that for another month, maybe.
I can't explain that attraction in terms of anything else that's familiar to you. For example, if we say the magnets attract like as if they were connected by rubber bands, I would be cheating you. Because they're not connected by rubber bands, I shouldn't be in trouble. You'd soon ask me about the nature of the bands. And secondly, if you were curious enough, you'd ask me why rubber bands tend to pull back together again, and I would end up explaining that in terms of electrical forces, which are the very things that I'm trying to use the rubber bands to explain, so I have cheated very badly, you see.
I think it maybe needs longer. This is a fortnight to the day. Maybe it needs some weight on as well. Well, there you are, ladies and gentlemen. Like, bloody hell, that's strong, that magnet. Look at this. Sticking to the bloody ironing board.
So I'm not going to be able to give you an answer to why magnets attract each other, except to tell you that they do, and to tell you that that's one of the elements in the world of the different kinds of forces. There are electrical forces, magnetic forces, gravitational forces, and others, and those are some of the parts. If you were a student, you'd go further. I could go further. I could tell you that the magnetic forces are related to the electrical forces very intimately, that our relationship between the gravity forces and electrical forces remains unknown, and so on. But I really can't do a good job, any job, of explaining magnetic force in terms of something else that you're more familiar with, because I don't understand it in terms of anything else that you're more familiar with.
But let me know what your thoughts are on, you know, this kind of method. You know, I could maybe try a month with a book, you know, something with weight. But technically, the magnets are a force, a constant force running through that current of energy. Just like gravity in itself, it is. It's a force of physics. So surely it's going to work. You know, as much as a book would. Unless it needs more mass and weight that you can get from like a Bible or something. I've got a Spanish dictionary somewhere, which I've used before, actually. Yeah, they were really strong. So that's a strong one. That's really strong anyway, and that's a strong one. So now I've got them going down the spine of that original crease, which was not a crease. What am I calling it? It was like a wave, wasn't it? An arch. So hopefully that will straighten out. I really don't know if this doesn't work, man. It'll never work. And that goes for books as well. I mean, this is a constant force pressing down on it. Magnet, isn't it? So off yet, and I've just put these magnets I found at work, actually. I put these on. These are really strong. So let's have a look. Really strong magnets. Whoa! Thank you for watching. Let's just end it there.